my name is Sarah, and I'm trying to read 100 books in 100 days. This is my 4th review and my 5th preview of this challenge. In this group, I'll be discussing my Section 5 books and then previewing my Section 6 books. So it wasn't totally thought out, but I guess it kind of just happened. Section 5 ended up being like my female empowerment section, I guess, and you'll kind of see as I go through how I got there. The books were really interesting this section, but as I've kind of talked about in my prior videos, I think it's really starting to make me realize how much of a challenge this really was. Those first couple weeks, you know, I was driven on inspiration and it all just kind of happened. I still have a pretty good lead so that if I'm not able to read on certain days, I can still, you know, make it to my end goal. But it definitely is making me realize just the consistency of having to be disciplined enough to finish a book pretty much every day. It's a lot. It's hard, especially I'm still working full time. So it makes you realize how little time you really do have in a day. So without further ado, Section 5. So I think there was a couple really standout books in this group, and I'll talk about those first. The first one definitely had to be Darker Shade of Magic. So this is a V.E. Schwab book, and if you've watched my prior videos, you know that I read Vicious and Vengeful earlier in this challenge. And Darker Shade of Magic, I think I like even better. V.E. Schwab definitely has a very specific style of storytelling, and she keeps it through a Darker Shade of Magic. But I actually kind of like the characters better in this group. I like Kel, I like Lila, I like Rye. I'm just kind of sad because the order time on Overdrive for the second book in the series is so long, and I don't know if I can wait that long. I think there's a couple like foreshadowing pieces that I really hope resolve themselves in the next book, and I'll be super interested to see. But 100%, it was a fun, quick, overall exciting journey that, you know, had emotion behind it and it has these really, really cool characters. The second book I'm going to talk about is Women's War. So this one I kind of found on a whim. It was on my Overdrive recommended list. It was kind of long, over 550 pages, but it captured me right from page 1. There's been other great books that I've read so far in this challenge, but I don't know if I've had any that, you know, pulled me in that quickly. I don't think I can do the plot a ton of justice with as short a time that I probably have to explain this in, but what I will say is that it basically follows a set of characters, a lot of them female, as a curse brings great change to a series of interconnected kingdoms. And you see these women rise up and just be complete badasses. I definitely would recommend this book to anyone who's looking for, you know, one of those big empowered reads. The next one also falls into that female empowerment category, and that is Spin the Dawn. So this book follows Maya, and I think one of the synopses that I saw was it's a mix of Mulan with Project Runway, and that's a completely apt description for this book. But it's even better than that. You know, I'm so used to fantasy books being, you know, following a princess or an assassin. Nope. This book follows a girl, just a regular girl, who happens to be an amazing tailor. And as she enters a competition and subsequently is tasked with something that's nearly impossible. I loved Maya and the love interest Eden. They're awesome together. My only complaint, I love the romance between the two of them, but I think at parts of it, it was kind of choppy. Like, you can see the tension building, but then it just kind of skips from like low tension to, okay, now they're, you know, in love. And I think that's my only real qualm about this was I felt that they did a really good job of building the tension, but they kind of lost it right as she transitioned into it. It was like just opening the floodgates, which I guess maybe in the situation that you see these characters in, that kind of makes sense, but that's my only qualm. Otherwise, it was a really great book. It has really interesting characters. The next one I'm going to talk about is Children of Virtue and Vengeance. So this is the second in the series behind Children of Blood and Bone. I thought this book was really good. I thought the story was interesting. The characters developed in an interesting and cool way. The big thing that is starting to bother me in this series is the back and forth. I'm starting to realize that I don't like books that are built on miscommunication. And so much of the drama and tension in this series is just built on miscommunication and not being able to trust each other. And I get why the author does it. It's starting to bother me. I'm like, I just want to sit all the characters down at a table and be like, just talk to each other. Just talk to each other and work it all out. Because like one trustful conversation could have fixed pretty much all the drama in this. Next one I'm going to talk about is Six of Crows. This book was pretty good. I particularly like Kaz and Inej. I could take over anyone's personality in Six of Crows. I definitely would want to be Inej. Something about like just that like super stealthy drop in on anyone type of assassin has always been super cool to me. I get into basically the rest of the books that kind of fell in there. First I'm going to talk about Last Night the Lobster. So Last Night the Lobster was a contemporary novel that was actually pretty short. It's about a manager's last night at a failing Red Lobster. And this was actually the first audiobook I've ever listened to, and I think it was perfect for audiobook. I don't know actually if I would have been as interested in it if I had read the actual book, because I'm starting to learn that contemporary books especially, I think I like them best on audiobook because I can be doing other things and still absorbing the story. Next I'm going to talk about is The Vegetarian. So if Last Night the Lobster is a subdued contemporary book, The Vegetarian is loud and proud and takes no prisoners. It's a Korean translation book that it is bizarre. It's really weird. No other way to really describe it. It basically deals with a main character who is narrated through the eyes of everyone around her. You only get small glimpses of her perspective really at the beginning of the story, and then pretty much the rest of the story is told from her husband's, her sister's, and her brother-in-law's point of view. And some weird stuff happens. It's definitely should come with a trigger warning. I was not ready for the scene with the brother-in-law. If you've read the book, you'll know what that is. But I think it did provide an interesting portrayal of mental illness, of a fight for independence, of the culture that this book was written out of. And I think that it provides the real value there. Next one is The Awakening. So this one's another kind of female empowerment-ish book. I'm gonna be real, I skimmed most of it. It wasn't bad. It had an interesting message about, again, women taking back control over their lives and gaining independence and becoming more than just wives and mothers and all that jazz. But beyond that, I mean, there's not much I really else want to say about it. And finally, I have my two physical books. The first one I'm going to talk about is Attached, which is the new science of adult attachment and how it can help you find and keep love. So this was mostly a recommendation from my mom. It was helpful information, I think, if you're ever interested in how adult attachment often plays out. I think this book's really good. I found a lot of truth in it. I think I can definitely see shades of myself and of other people that I've seen. The other thing that I think would be really good, I think this would be a really good read for any authors who plan on writing romances or plan on writing like very involved relationships between characters. I actually think that would be the really good application for this book because it gives you so much insight into how adult attachment works. I will say the first third of the book covers most of the meat and potatoes, and then it's just kind of backfill from there of giving examples. And finally, I have the Career Manifesto. So this book, actually kind of similar advice to reading the first third of this book, gives you most of what happened in the book without having all the details in the back. I think this book's really, really good if you don't know where you're going in your career. It has a number of activities that I think help you draw out what's really important to you and how to basically get there. So I would say if you're looking for kind of a career book, this one is a pretty good one. So that was Group 5. Now I'm going to go into my preview of Group 6. The first two books that I'll start out with are actually the next two books in the Chronicles of Narnia series. So that's The Horse and His Boy, which is the third book, and Prince Caspian, which is the 4th book. So any of you that actually know me know that I actually have a horse named Prince Caspian. So needless to say, excited about these books. These are actually 2 of my favorite books, I think, in the series, at least from what I remember when I was a kid. So The Horse and His Boy, I believe, if I remember correctly, takes place during a time period between the middle of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and the end of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So Prince Caspian takes place decidedly after both of those books are complete. While I'm at it, I will also talk about my other 2 vegetables we're doing in this group. So the first one is The Broken Ladder, which I believe the subtitle is How Inequality Affects the Way We Think, Live, and Die. My understanding of this book is it goes into more the psychology and the sociology perspectives of inequality instead of the pure economic standpoint, which is in the focus of a lot of books that I've read on inequality thus far. And so I think that will be definitely an interesting side to take. Next book that I'm going to read is Places for People. So the subtitle of that is How Infrastructure Can Help Fight Inequality, Polarization, and Civic Decline. My understanding of this book is on how having shared spaces can actually help reduce inequality by creating spaces for people of different socioeconomic statuses to interact. The book I'm going to cover is Dread Nation. So my understanding of this book is that it's basically a alt historical YA fiction book. My next book that I'm going to read is 3 Dark Crowns. So this is a YA fantasy book that basically follows 3 queens who are triplets, but of different powers basically, and they have to fight each other for being the ultimate ruler of the country they are in. The book that I'm going to read is A Long Way Down. So this is a book in prose that basically follows a man as he is about to go to avenge his brother's death. He's in an elevator, and at each floor a different person who's died steps on and talks to him. My next book that I'm going to talk about is Scarlett. So this is the second in the Lunar Chronicles. I believe in group 3 or 4. I read Cinder, and now Scarlett came up available on my Overdrive, so now I'm going to read Scarlett too. Read is We Are Okay. So this is a YA contemporary novel basically dealing with a main character as she goes through grief and having to stay alone on campus during winter break with a visiting friend. Finally, I'm going to read Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. So a lot of the reviews and videos I've seen have said mixed things about Throne of Glass series and about Sarah J. Maas just in general. I've never read anything by Sarah J. Maas, and so I think my big thing is that I just want to know, I want to understand, I want to read. Group 6 will be just a little bit over 3,000 pages. I will have 4 different vegetables, and I'll have 2 different read reads. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you stick around to watch more of my journey. I'm very, very excited about this and being able to share it. So wish me luck.